Hello world, John Madden here with my final project game from Full Sail. This was a 5-month team project with 6 student programmers and art outsourced to a group of 5 student artists. The way the pipeline works for final project at Full Sail is the developer students create an asset request list and send that information over to the artists who generate the art and then send it back for approval. So this game, The Gates, is a frantic 3D top-down shooter in which you are an angel armed with a shotgun powered by magical orbs. Demons have stolen all the orbs, so you travel to hell to defeat the demons and retrieve the orbs. There's 5 different types of orbs, and your gun has 2 to 5 slots depending on how far you've progressed through the game. And you pick up these orbs in the various combinations that you find them, and they change your gun in unique and different ways. We'll talk about the orbs once we actually get into the game. We'll do that right now. Go ahead and start on level 2 here. So we got mouse look, follow the cursor, WASD movement. It also supports Xbox controller, but I prefer mouse and keyboard for everything. So you get your basic movement, you've got a dash, just go quick dash a little bit, and once you actually pick up some orbs, you can do what we call a pulse. And it consumes the orb and does some kind of effect based on which type of orb you're pulsing. So I'll go ahead and do it right now. You see it does a spherical explosion around you. That sphere will actually shoot down any incoming enemy projectiles. And then it does an additional effect. That one was fire based on the orb that you pulse with. So these basic melee guys, there's 3 different versions. The red ones are extra fast. Then we've got these ranged guys, the Goat Imps. They have 3 different versions as well. So the gray versions of all the enemies is like the basic thing. It's kind of bluish gray for the Goat Imp. Then the purple one is the larger tank version. The Goat Imp tanks have bigger projectiles that do more damage. They move a little slower, they have a lot more health. So you can see here right now, I've got my weapons slotted with lightning, light, and stone. So the stone is giving me the split, and it's giving me a knockback when my projectiles hit an enemy. Some of the larger enemies are not affected by the knockback, but here you can see they're getting knocked back a little bit. The light gives my bullets more damage and range, and they go faster. And it also allows them to pierce through one enemy per light orb that you have slotted. And the lightning is what's making that zapping sound. It's kind of hard to see. Each lightning orb gives your shots a chance to lightning strike a nearby enemy when it hits. That creates a little bolt of lightning and stuns both of the enemies hit. It also increases your firing rate while lowering your damage. So you can see here the yellow Goat Imps they move a little faster, and they actually will shoot 3 fireballs in rapid succession. So this fire orb that I just picked up, it adds a little explosion to my bullets and gives them a burning effect on the enemies. You can see this guy, Demon Lord, just caught on fire. So on this level, you progress through, and every now and then you'll encounter an area where you get locked in with a Demon Lord, and you have to defeat him to proceed. And each time you defeat a Demon Lord, you unlock a new orb slot. We started on the 2nd level, and at the end of the first level, you fight a Demon Lord, so that's why I started with 3 orb slots. You start at the beginning of the game with only 1. So what this Demon Lord is doing, he's got some of the orbs, he's actually using them. He's got his own slightly different effects for the orbs. As you proceed through the fight, he drops down these towers with an orb on top of them, and those towers also do the orb effect for whichever orb they represent. The light orb, we kind of had to make a tough design decision for that. For us, it gives our shots piercing and crit chance and extra damage. But for the enemy, we couldn't really come up with a good way of providing obvious feedback to the user that, you know, they were getting crit by the enemy shots, or that those shots would crit, other than like, the shot hit me and I took more damage. What's up with that? So we made these little fields, this thing I'm standing in right now, for the enemies when they have the light. While you're inside that field, you take double damage. So that was kind of an analog to the crit without actually without relying on the enemy projectiles to change in a way that would be obvious. I didn't really explain that very well, but I think you get it. It was tough to make the projectiles change in a way that would be meaningful to the user, so we did that. Let's see what else I got. Okay, Tar. I haven't talked about Tar. Tar was kind of a unique thing. For a long time, the staff tried to convince us to change Tar to like ice or something, but we wanted to keep Tar because the original idea was that the orb effects would transfer over to the tar puddles, and we wanted to have the like burning tar puddle from the fire, and that just stuck with us for a long time. So the puddles do still transfer the orb effects. So like if you have lightning and an enemy walks through a tar puddle, they have a chance to be stunned. And if you have fire and they walk through the tar puddle, they'll catch on fire. So I think that's all of the orbs we talked about. The stone was the split and the knockback. The fire has the fire also adds a slight seeking ability to your projectiles. They'll slightly turn towards the nearest enemy to them. Okay, so the fire is seeking, the explosions and the burning. The lightning is rapid fire, chance to stun, and does that lightning split. The tar adds the puddles that slow enemies down. The puddles transfer the effects, and the stone does the split shot of the knockback. So once you get 5 slots unlocked, you actually unlock the super weapon version of whichever once you unlock 5 slots, if you get 5 of the same type of orb, you'll unlock a super weapon of whichever type you have all slotted. If you do one of each orb, that's also another different super weapon that has all of the effects of all of the orbs. Effectively gives you 2 of each orb and a unique shot pattern. So here I'm going to go ahead and go with the light super weapon as my first choice here, mostly because it gives you a pretty cool effect and I designed and implemented it, so I won't show it off. So it's the second Demon Lord here. It's got some more abilities. He's currently got the he started with the tar orb, but I killed him through that phase already, so he's got these tar towers they're throwing gross puddles of stuff at me. I don't know if we can, I don't think we can zoom in on this version. No, the final version you can't zoom, but for testing you can zoom in. I wanted to show off the goopiness of the puddles. You can kind of see they look all goopy. I wrote the shader that deforms the meshes like that. Which brings me to my roles on this project. I was kind of the lead programmer. Like, officially we didn't have area leads, but we felt like it would be beneficial for the team if we had people that were in charge of specific areas anyway. So I ended up being lead programmer, and what that meant for us was I was the person who tied everything together, made sure that the game, the programming parts of the game were going smoothly, and that the game was coming along in a appropriate fashion and direction. My specific systems that I was in charge of, I wrote the exporter and importer from Maya, so all of the assets that we got from the artists, and our guy who built the level was actually one of our programmers. He built it in Maya. So all that stuff coming out of Maya and then imported into the game, I wrote the code that handled that. I also wrote the animation system. So we have a smooth skinned and blended animation system using GPU skinning. And I wrote the skinning shader we use for that. It adds a lot of efficiency to the program to have the GPU do all the skinning calculations instead of having to do those sequentially on the CPU side. So the orb pick up world objects, these things here, how they pop out like that. I wrote that behavior and the behavior that causes them to always face the camera. You can see it's like the actual model is a sphere with a square inside of it that's got the little icon on it. So once they're in the world, they always face directly at the camera. You have the ability to drop an orb. We were going to have multiplayer, and we had this cool dynamic split screen, so we wanted the ability to like trade orbs between players. So if you're not moving and you hit Q, you'll throw an orb forward. If you are moving, you'll throw the orb in like the opposite direction from what you're moving. So throw it forward, pick that back up, and then moving left so it throws it right, and moving right so it throws it left. So, you know, pretty basic system, but you know, it's a cool thing I did. I kind of like it. Then the enemies, they will always drop their orb and it'll pop towards the player. I think it's a fixed range. I don't remember exactly. It's like a fixed distance it'll pop towards the player. Let's see, what else did I do? I made this light super weapon, the laser beam, all the effects for it, except for the targeting reticle. Our artist slash our staff artist, who was also our product owner, like the staff member directly in charge of our group, she actually made this for us. Got the sweet scrolling effect. I also designed the lightning super weapon and the fire super weapon, which I will try to show off as soon as I can. Getting into a boss fight area, but I'm gonna go ahead and go do some side objectives so we can see. Oops, wrong button. We can see the different super weapons. Actually, I'm going to switch to the lightning one first because it is pretty cool. Okay. So that's another pulse there. There's a lot of things in this game to actually talk about. So the pulses kind of give you a preview of what the super weapon for that orb type is going to be. So here, like that's kind of what the light super weapon, if you remember, and the tar is kind of like that. So the fire is kind of like that. And then we'll show you the lightning momentarily after I finish that. So you can see here with 3 lightning orbs, your shot speed, or your rate of fire is pretty high. So go over here. So we have a side objective. It's a super goat imp, or just super goat as I like to call him. Oh my geez, he's got a lot of bullets. Let's use that pulse. Wow, that's a big fireball. It's got a little spiral action. And a big fireball. Wonder what I'm gonna get for killing this guy. It's rapid fire. Oh, got a little bit of extra stamina. That's pretty cool. So we've got these side objectives spread throughout the game that will give you some permanent boosts, like extra stamina or extra health. Kill some more of these guys. Trying to get the lightning orbs to drop. Let's just use a pulse here and kill all these suckers. Pick up a stone. Shoot some more dudes. Oh, these piggly guys, these were the first enemy that we actually got fully implemented in its final version. Mostly because they're the simplest enemy, and they just kind of sit there and lob vomit at you. And then they vomit up a big wall of gore to defend themselves. They're pretty gross, but they're pretty cool. We're quite proud of those guys. They're like a signature enemy. Kill some more guys, trying to get the other lightning orbs to drop. There's another one. There you see the stone pulse. Now with 4 lightning orbs, we shoot extra fast. Oh look, this is a super piggly. Wonder. Whoa, he's got multiple vomit projectiles and a big wall here. Oh man, so dangerous. Wonder what he's gonna give me. Yeah, it's pretty gross. Oh, extra health, look at that. Nice. Okay. So, he's dead. See if we can get a lightning orb up in here. See all the little lightning strikes chaining off. Okay, so we got the lightning orb. This is the lightning super weapon. It'll randomly strike 1 enemy per second around you, and then as long as enemies are in this cone, it'll zap 2 of them at a time, like 20 times a second or something. It's ridiculous. It's really cool. I like it. The graphic could probably use some improvement, like some kind of end cap object to hide the rectangular edges to the lightning bolts. Or maybe, if we had time, we could have done like kind of like how UE4 does a particle stream for a lightning effect. That would have looked really cool, but yeah, we didn't have time to do something like that. So we have this little sprite action with a scrolling texture. So this guy, I'm gonna zap him a bunch. The lightning isn't actually very effective against single targets compared to the other super weapons. It's really good against massive hordes of enemies, and I'll show you that once I finish this guy off. We'll go to the next level. There's a very large group of dudes to kill right at the beginning of the final boss level. Yeah, we only had 3 levels for this game. It's basically a demo length game since we only had 5 months to work on it, and we wrote basically everything from scratch, including the engine and the renderer. Take this guy out. It's taking a little bit long, because like I said, lightning not as good as against a single target. That was actually a point of contention with some of the group members. Felt like all the super weapons should be effective against bosses, but some of us also felt like it was okay for some of them to be less effective in certain situations. We wanted them to all have a situation in which they were useful, not necessarily all of them be equally viable in all situations. Causing some damage. Fire. There we go. Okay. So, gonna have to pick up a new lightning orb at the beginning of the next level. Alright, so that was the first level. Go ahead and proceed. This is the final. Sorry, that was the second level. We're gonna proceed to the final boss level here. Pick up another lightning orb. There we go. Cue this piggly. Alright, so moving in here, just watch how this just like melts these guys. Keeps them stunned. They pretty much can't do anything against my incredible lightning powers. So once these guys die, I'm going to go ahead and start switching over to the fire super weapon so I can show that one off as well. So I did the fire, lightning, and light super weapons. So this is the final boss, Lucifer. He's got the power of all 5 orbs. And he starts off in the fire orb phase, launching those fireballs into the sky that come down, cause burning if they hit you. He launches them so quick, you gotta dash to get out of them. So they don't do very much damage, but there's a lot of them. You gotta keep moving. It's got some ridiculous firing patterns. We wanted this fight to be really, like, frantically over the top. Just so many bullets, and so much stuff to avoid. We'll see that when he moves on to his next phase, which I believe is lightning. Okay, so yeah. Alright, so now he's using his lightning ability. The lightning doesn't actually come from him, it comes from these red spheres that appear on the ground. Makes it really difficult to avoid. There's all these lightning bolts everywhere. So now the fire towers are shooting the fireball things. Switching over to try to get the fire super weapon here, so exchanging the lightning orbs. There's another fire. There we go. One more. I'll have probably the most overpowered super weapon. It's really, oh no, I got stunned. Okay, so I got stunned again. It's got this lollipop targeting reticle here because it's pretty good. It shoots out this ball that drops more fireballs as it goes along, and then the final explosion at the end shoots 5 more fireballs that seek out targets with nearly perfect accuracy. The very high turning rate. Dodge through that. I'll also take out the towers really fast. It's kinda hard to land it on the melee enemies because they're coming towards you. So what I like to do sometimes is like kite them and shoot actually in the direction that I'm moving so that it's landing all the bonus projectiles right on them. Alright, let's take this guy out. So he's now in the tar phase, and for him that's kind of a blood tar effect. So he's raining blood from the skies. But his blood is no match for my fire. Okay, let's now switch to the stone phase. So he'll be throwing boulders at me momentarily. towers. Okay, there's a boulder. Start shooting fire barrages. Alright, he's in his final orb phase, light mode. These huge vulnerability fields he's got put down. Got all these tanky damned coming for me. I don't know if I mentioned that before actually, the melee enemies are called the damned. We've got a little bit of particle system glitch here. There's a couple particles appearing in random locations where they once were located. That's unfortunate. Oh well. Let's go ahead and kill this guy. Oh. This light phase is finished and he's moving on to his final phase, which he has the power of all the orbs simultaneously. It's gonna summon these mega towers. All the orb powers coming after us. We've got vulnerability fields from the light stone, and well, my fire barrage is too powerful and he's dead. So this was the gates. Lucifer has been defeated, the orbs have been recovered. Thank you all for watching.